I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, we're going to try to transform this into this. With Airwindows Console 8 Lite. So, here's the deal. The reason I do Airwindows Console is to try to get tones similar to what I can get out of hardware. And in my studio, I'm working with a hardware system. Like, I can demonstrate that that is in fact what's happening. I got an volume control here. And that's a hardware mixer. It's a Heritage Audio. I'm quite happy with it, other than if you bump it around, sometimes you have to reseat some of the cables. But hey, I do like it because the alternative is what you'll hear here, which is raw DAW summing. This is just nothing but digital audio workstation. It's fine. Like, I like the tones that I'm getting. It's got things like compression. It's using real compressors. This is probably as good as you're likely to get out of a raw DAW summing for this type of music. I apologize for playing the same thing over and over, but that's the easiest way to get a sense of what you're working with. But people like doing console summing or mixing board summing, such as that is, and they like sometimes doing analog summing buses. You use your multi-channel interface and run into an external bus, sum out of the box, capture into the box, like with my library here. And in both cases here, I'm not actually doing anything to the tracks, but the end result, that's sort of DAW style. There's a certain flatness to it. And we have a little more dimensionality going on from the literal analog mixing board. But Airwindows Console 8 is designed to work with that, or to remedy that. So we're going to try to go from this to this. Airwindows Console 8 Lite. Now, the deal with Console 8 Lite is that it's using the same rules that previous versions of Console used. I've got a version of Console 8 that's already out. It's basically the same stuff. The thing with Console 8 is that you need to use a multi-bus mixing structure. So you have to have channels, the channels have to go into submixes, and the submixes have to go into a main mix. That's how Console 8 works. But as you can see on the screen, Console 8 Lite doesn't have to work that way. With Console 8 Lite, what you're going to get is a system where you're using the channel plugins on the end of each channel, and then the mixing needs to be unity gain between the channels and the bus. And then on the bus, you use Console 8 Lite bus at the top of the bus, and that's all you have to do. It doesn't require the multiple stages of submixes, which interestingly, the analog device does actually use submixes in that it's summing 8 channels and then another 8 channels into sub 1 and 2 and sub 3 and 4, and then it's summing that plus the inputs of the AUXes into the main bus. So funnily enough, that Heritage Audio does use the submix topology, but Console 8 does not. It's doing everything, including all of the same features that were part of Console 8, like there is a high pass and a treble softener, which has something to do with why it gets the tone that it does. And it's building them all into the simpler topology where you just have to have everything on the channels and on the bus. And again, let's demonstrate those differences between what you get. This is the hardware. And this is Console 8. There you have it. I mean, some people don't even care about running summing buses at all, and that's fine. But the whole purpose of Console, Airwindows Console, is to be able to get sounds like that and build them into the DAW so that you can run stuff in the box and get into the zone. Get into the zone of your big analog mixing board. This is a fairly fancy setup. I do like it. I'm likely to do the stuff that I do with it, and it's just fun to work with, and I like the tone. Again, I keep having to shut the summing bus plugin off so that I can have the gain on there, but I like the sound of the hardware. But when you consider that your other option is DAW, very perfect, very clinical. There are some genres of music that work just fine with this. But then you can do this. And you get kind of into that zone. But there's a bit of a price difference. I'm a little embarrassed at how much it takes to get that hardware rig together, bearing in mind that I'm also capturing into a Lavry. This is stuff that I like. I think I can make it be better than my plugins. There's a bit of a price difference. What that price difference gets you is the difference between this, maybe a little bit smoother of texture, a little more old school, and this. Is that difference worth? Well, you don't have to necessarily make that terrible bargain, because Airwindows Console 8 Lite, a follow-up to Airwindows Console 8, which you can already have, is open source free software supported by my Patreon. Now, the Patreon is the way I can get gear together, because people like it when I study gear and get the same sounds, or as close as I can get, in the box, because my plugins are MIT licensed, open source, and free, Patreon supported. Thanks to years of Patreon support and various other things, I'm able to have this stuff to study. And I really enjoy and appreciate that. And thank you everybody who has supported me in Patreon to get me to the point where I can do work with stuff like this. That said, you can have the Patreon stuff for nothing. Now, I'm also going to try to develop a further thing. You know that I'm developing stuff for VCV Rack now, because I'm working with a developer in the Search Synthesizer project, Bacon Paul, and he likes throwing together advanced plugins and things, and so he has made a Rack plugin that includes everything, including Console 8. So technically, you can already do this in VCV Rack. But one of the things about Console 8 is that, or all previous versions of Console, is that the system likes it if you can run the plugin post fader. It's just not difficult, it's just that people don't normally, I think Ardor is an exception, people don't normally give you the option to drop a plugin into a slot post fader and post everything just literally on the summing bus. I think that's a real missed opportunity. I think it would be a great idea if some DAW would. Since they don't, I'm going to see whether I can't prevail upon Paul to spend a little time trying to put together a handy little VCV Rack mixing board. And then you'll have the Console 8 not only in the plugin that's already available for VCV Rack, but also as a little mixing board that Paul can develop, and we'll kind of collaborate on that and see what we can make happen. So that catches you up to speed with what's going on this week. Last week was weight. I've deleted weight off of this example file because I was trying to demonstrate literally what you get out of the raw audio files, exactly the same files in the Analog Studio as in the laptop in the box. Because that's the point, is how close can you get in the box to a real big studio that's good? And I think you can get pretty close. I'll see whether I can't keep posting other interesting things in future weeks. I hope you like my other videos, and thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.